take this chance to reposition everything since YouTube buggered up the first live stream. Thank you, YouTube. You're fantastic. Love you so much. Okay, well, everyone, welcome to Getting Dressed with the Creative Contessa in the 15th century. The year is roughly 1480, and we are in Florence. And welcome to my private chamber where I'm going to get dressed in multiple layers. First, we'll be putting on my Gamora, or Camora as it's called in Florence. This is called, in other parts of Italy, this exact same garment has a different name. It is called a giuppone or a giuppa in other places. And, oh yeah, we didn't set up the...
Kino says hi, how are you?
Kino, hello, how are you? Haven't seen you in a chat in a while, welcome. This is a wool Gamora, so this is not a fancy one. This is the one that I did a vlog on recently, entirely hand sewn, every single layer. And it is basically, you know, this is my casual garment. I can wear this anywhere, and I'm going to be dressing it up today with the toppa, which we'll get to when we get to there. And then we'll be doing my hair. So you're going to get to see how to do my hair in a proper sort of 1470s to 1490s style with hair taping. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. So it's actually easy for this style of Gamora is actually relatively easy to put on, thankfully. Also, let me know if there are any sound issues. We do sometimes have those. Welcome to those just joining. If you have any questions or comments or information to share, pop them in the live chat and I will address them. So this style of Gamora is actually relatively easy to put on, not challenging in the least. You could watch it on your phone.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Not challenging to put on in the least because I specifically made this one so that I could put it on myself versus some of my other ones where I either have to fight and cry to get everything tied and knotted, etc., or I need help. So the sleeves on this one are relatively simple to do and don't have too many cuts or slashes through which white linen needs to be puffed prettily. Now there is no example for the camicia, which is this linen white layer here. I don't have any evidence in 15th century Italy of the sleeves on this having any kind of cuff. So yeah, this makes it a little bit challenging because it means that the full linen sleeves you just sort of have to manage on your own. And they're not pre-gathered, so you basically have to gather them yourself into the sleeve so that they stay in place. And that's just the reality of this style of sleeve. I don't know why they didn't put a band on it and pleat the fabric into that band for a cuff around your wrist. No idea. They were doing that by the 16th century, but not yet in the 15th century. In Spain, these camicia in 15th century in what is now Spain, in Castilla and Aragon, the camisa, as they were called there, they are actually beautiful. They're embroidered in this amazing red and black work and gold work, and the sleeves are purposefully let to flow all the way down so that you can see all of that embroidery. But that fashion hasn't yet hit Italy yet. And only that style of decoration on camice only gets to Italy at the very end. Well, it doesn't get to Florence until the 16th century. And it basically gets to parts of Italy as Spanish princesses marry into those families and bring those fashions with them. So it gets to Naples first, and then it gets up to Ferrara and Milano later on. Right? Fashion spreading by way of marriage. Thought. So the laces, I'm going to lace this sleeve shut right here. And I actually have a condottiero here, and I'm actually going to have him do that. I do not have a demoiselle, a lady of honor, but I do have a condottiero. So normally, of course, I have a lady who assists me, a lady or ladies who assist me. None of them are on this continent where I currently am. So yeah, I instead have a condottiero to assist me.
Yeah,
Hold on a minute.
assume that
Hello, everyone. Are you okay? Yeah. Just
then she has me.
yeah, I'm doing pretty well, thank you. Are you okay? Let me see how they used. How did they use the restroom with these on? I actually have a video where I demonstrate that.
She
Um,
does. Sounds
and-
funny.
Which sounds funny. I demonstrate it without the actual commode, shall we say, but I show you the technique. It's actually very easy. You learn how to sweep your skirts up in one big skirt burrito, basically, and everything is nice and neatly contained. On the positive side, you don't have to worry about anything dropping onto the floor and getting disgusting the way you do with, say, trousers. So yeah, you just gather everything up into one burrito from the inside out, starting with the camicia, and it just kind of wrap itself around me, and then you keep it all bunched up until you exit the stall. No problem. Been doing it for, I don't know, 30 years at this point. So the idea with this style of sleeve is that you actually have some of the camicia puffing out prettily, and this is an undergarment, right? This massive linen garment that has more fabric than most sundresses do these days. This is actually underwear technically. So for a lady of the 15th century to be showing her underwear, the first time this fashion kind of came out in about the mid 15th, sort of 1460s, when this lady started doing this, it was very salacious. And then when Savonarola rolls into Florence at the end of the 1480s and starts preaching against the Medici and all sorts of other excesses, when he eventually actually takes over Florence and creates a kind of horrible theocracy there, Florence passes all this legislation that regulates the neckline and says you can't show your camice and that sort of thing. And so then you'll see on portraits, suddenly the necklines come up to here, these puffs and slashes kind of vanish. Yep. Okay, let me see what else we've got. Why don't you log in as me and then you can regulate a lot of these comments better. You can't do it from my phone.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah. Okay, so next we're going to lace up. Right? So this is spiral lacing.
I can't do it as you,
You can't.
because you're on there, live streaming. I can watch it.
Okay, so we've got spiral lacing here, and so for spiral lacing, you actually start by going around the bottom two holes. In this case, they're eyelets, they're lacing eyelets, and then you just spiral up the top like you're whip stitching the dress shut. And this is really the best way to lace a gown shut. Ladder lacing is really annoying. And I have what's called a chape. No, what's this thing called that has a hole in it for the lacing? It's called a bodkin. I have a bodkin, and this is actually a replica bodkin. So it is taken from a portrait of a woman wearing a dress almost exactly like this one. And what's nice about it is it can either be woven braided into the lace, which we did a demonstration yesterday on how to make these kinds of laces, or it can be taken off and set aside and used on other ones rather than having to actually point laces with just one metal tip that only gets used for that one lace. This was made by a craftsman on Etsy, and I've really been enjoying having this. I thought the twisted wire part would make it hard to work with, but it actually doesn't, so yay. Nope, I laced it up, I missed a hole. So to get spiral lacing right, there's actually an offset hole that you have to get through, or it's not right, it's crooked. And I didn't do that, so I'm gonna go back and do that now.
Jesus Christ.
Advice says they're going to go through their wardrobe, SCA wardrobe, and see if stuff needs mending.
Oh yeah. I always think I have everything mending things. Yeah. Some of you may do. I know that I do a weekly Stitch and Bitch live stream. Gosh, I hope saying that word doesn't get me canceled by YouTube. And on Sunday morning in Asia or Friday evening on the East Coast or in the Americas. And a lot of times I'm repairing a lot of things. Yeah, wearing these garments like real clothes means that they do eventually wear out. And unlike modern clothes where people just throw them away when they wear out, it's absolutely worth it to repair a historical garment because of the number of hours and expense that goes into making them. So yeah, this one is relatively new, or it's my newest garment actually, this Gamora, and so it doesn't need any repairs yet. In fact, I just finished reconstructing it because the skirts were too long and I needed to bring the waistline up a little bit. But
Somebody asked where you're from.
I am. That's a very tricky question. Where am I from? I'm originally from the United States, but that is not where I currently am. I'm currently in South Korea, but I have lived most of my life not in the United States at this point. I've lived most of my life outside of the United States. Spent a long time living in Germany. I've lived in Spain. I've lived in France. I've lived in South Korea. So, yeah, where I'm from is actually a bit more complicated of a question than most people think it is. Yeah. So the nice thing about this lacing that I'm using, this is handmade finger looped lacing. It's a open, broad lace of 5 bows, as it's called in the original 15th century manuscript, and they're naturally elastic. They have a natural elasticity about them because of the nature of the braiding. So if you don't think you have enough, you can just tug a little bit and you'll eventually get enough to actually fill out the space you have. That also means that there's a little bit of flexibility in the bodice, like as you eat and your stomach gets a little fuller, for instance. Okay. Handsome, could you come in? This is the part where having a lady, a damsel as it were, helps a little bit. The adjusting of the kamicha to make it sit properly. I mean, I can do it, but it's fussy. Yeah. Just gonna,
How far up your shoulder do you want?
it should just be protecting the dress against me. Yeah. So the whole purpose of this white layer, this kamicha, is that it protects the dress against my human skin. Human skin is actually pretty disgusting, and it's pretty damaging to clothing because the oils in our skin rub into the fibers and will track dirt and gunk from the air and then create this horrible ring around the collar, which some of you may have heard of and never really understood what it was. Well, when you wear medieval clothes, you understand quickly what ring around the collar is. Okay. You're blocking the camera. Okay.
Yep.
My condottiere is going to go and check the comments now and let me know if there's any valid comments.
It's all in Arabic at this point.
Okay, so the next layer I'm going to put on is the topa. So this is actually how a lady would dress, and I'm just talking about the gown because my hair isn't even done yet. Right? This is how I would dress if I were just going to stay at home, but I'm not. We're going to actually go down to the river, and I'm going to be working on reconstructing a 15th century dance with my condottiero. We're going to be live streaming that too. That'll probably be maybe in about an hour roughly if you want to tune back in for that. So we're actually going to be recreating an actual genuine dance from the 15th century. So I will need more layers for that because ladies did not leave the house dressed just like this. Only servants did, and I'm definitely not a servant. So Hansa, could you pass me my topa? Yeah, you knew it was broken. Off the hanger. Yeah. Okay, so this is the next layer that we're going to put on. This is called a topa. And it's open in the front. It doesn't have any lacing and it just has a clasp. This clasp is a reproduction of the clasp. Armor and Castings has a similar clasp. This one actually comes from Raymond's Quiet Press, for those who've heard of that bronze caster. And it's this one is not lined. The bodice is lined. The skirts are not. And that makes it really light on the ground, which means it has a long train, but when it drags, it's not heavy because there's no lining to weigh it down. So I just shoulder it on like this, pull my hair out, and all I have to do is do the hook. Now, you don't have to, but I do. I like to have a nice belt just to accentuate my waist. It's my vanity. I need, no, not this one, the other one. I need I need to make a really nice silk velvet belt with a really nice buckle, and I even have the buckle, and I could make it, and I probably should go ahead and get around to doing that. But this is a tablet woven belt, which is also an authentic technique, but the silk velvet one is definitely a finer, more upper class, more noble accessory. Okay, right, so we are now to the stage where we do my hair. And for that, we're going to turn around so that you can actually see what we're doing. Not what we're doing, because I have nothing to do with what's about to happen next. There are some women who can hair tape their own hair or can tape their own hair. I can't. Hair is not my forte. I have people for that. So hair taping is a process by which we're actually going to take ribbon, not sticky tape before it became adhesive. We're going to take a long ribbon like this, and we're literally going to use it to whip stitch my hair to the back of my head. So in this era, women should have actually a very nice facial frame. So that's actually what's going to happen first. So I'm just going to sit down, and my condottiero is going to come in, and we're going to see that the angle is the right one.
Not even close.
Not even close. Great.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So first thing, he's going to comb my hair out. Although depending on your hair, you might not need to do that.
She always does.
They can't really. You need to move the camera just a little bit more.
Which way?
I'm not look here. I don't know which way it needs to go.
Oh, you won't see the movement here for another couple of
Okay,
moments.
yeah, okay, that's the way it needed to go. Maybe. Yeah. Okay, great. So after combing out my hair, now it's been, my hair has been in a French braid, well, 2 French braids actually, for about 2 or 3 days. So that's why it has this really intense wave. My hair naturally basically assumes any form in which it's forced until I wet it and reset it. Now, the way women in the 15th century probably achieved curl is either through braiding. I have seen one, what could be a curling iron, but the kind that you actually heat up in a fire over coals and probably with which you singe your hair. I have not been able to find evidence of rag curls or pin curls as a way to create curls, unfortunately. So what's going to happen is he's going, my stylist here is going to basically draw a diagonal line from the center of my forehead, center front of my forehead, diagonally back to just behind my ears at the base of my skull. And that's what's going to create the frame. Now there's some theories I've read about fake hair being used to create a really full front frame. And I've actually seen women do that who don't actually have long hair of their own.
Oh.
Oh, thank you, Baran. That's really kind. We're doing really well. It's a beautiful spring day here in Korea. So we're getting dressed to actually go outside and get some 15th century dancing created. So yeah, I thought I'd just share the getting dressed process with you all while we do that. And let me know if the sound is not great. Also, hi, coffee cup. I'm sorry, I can't tell what you've written in Arabic, and unfortunately Arabic is not one of my languages, you've written in the Arabic alphabet, but I don't know, that might not be Arabic. That could be several languages that use Arabic, actually. And I don't have a way of translating it. So if you could translate what you said, that'd be great. Oh, David Bender, they did absolutely have bathrooms back in the Middle Ages.
Look at the camera.
Look at the camera.
Do you like the
No, like this.
oh, from the
Yeah.
Oh, like that.
Yeah, like that.
Oh. It's not the
Yeah, so
style I did
back to
before.
the topic of bathrooms. Yeah, they did absolutely have restrooms and not just outhouses. Outhouses are what people have in poor parts of the world. But depending on where you are in medieval Europe, they actually had flushing toilets with water flowing through them. Not like the kind of flushing toilet you think of, but they basically had water running through them constantly to wash them out Now, granted, that usually got washed into a local river, so that's not super great. But yeah, restrooms, yeah, much more sophisticated that with that. They definitely didn't use leaves. They had cloths to attend to those sorts of needs. No leaves. Goodness, how weird is that?
Not even the Romans use leaves.
Not even the Romans used these. Roman public restrooms actually had a sponge on a stick that sat in a bucket in the public restrooms. You can go see that you can see where they did that anyway, in Pompeii and in Ephesus and in Herculaneum. Unfortunately, the sponge on a stick didn't survive, but they've evidence of it from documentary evidence. Writers talked about it in ancient Rome, and I think there's actually some visual evidence of it on some of the frescoes in Pompeii. In castles, in a lot of medieval European castles, the garderobe, as it was called, would actually be a room that was positioned on the outer wall of the castle, accessed from inside, but it would actually project out like an oriel window over the moat, and the commode, as it were, was actually just basically a stool with a hole, or a bench with a hole in it, and it just opened onto the sort of outside world and fell straight into either the moat or down the side of the castle, which meant they also had to, wash those castle walls with some regularity. I always felt sorry for the person whose job that was.
Okay, look at the camera. No, look at the camera.
Oh, hold on a minute. Look at the camera. Yeah, better. Okay, yeah. Okay, how is Korea and how long have you been there? Yeah, Ninja Stoner. Sorry. Question, MS, how is Korea and how long have you been there? Over the last 11 years, I've probably spent 8 of them in Korea. At the very least, visiting a lot, if not living here. So yeah, Korea is wonderful. We love Korea. We're hoping to settle down here more permanently. Right now, we're kind of on we're on a long visit right now, but Korea is very sophisticated. It's very developed. It's got high-speed internet, high-speed trains. It's very peaceful, beautiful landscapes, beautiful history, architecture from ancient to modern. Yeah, we love Korea. Food is great, easy to travel. Similarities to the US. Well, I mean, there's
People here.
There's people here. There isn't any similarities to the US. I guess it depends on what one means by similarities. There's obviously, actually things are better here. The infrastructure is better. The roads and sidewalks are in way better condition. God knows public transit is way better. Food is cheaper. Eating out is cheaper. Traveling around is cheaper. Even if you consider how much, Koreans make in won versus how much Americans make in dollars, it's still cheaper to live here. It's a democracy, functioning democracy, without voter suppression, so that's nice.
Okay. So your hair is at this point?
Okay, so we now have created the facial frame and we have all of the hair gathered up. So the next thing we're going to do is take our ribbon and divide it in half. And then we're actually going to tie that around the ponytail that we have created there in just a half knot, or even a whole knot if it needs to, if it helps for to secure it. Oh, okay, whatever.
I do although that would probably make it more secure.
It would make it more secure, yeah. It does. Or if you can take what you've already done and just wrap it around and do a half knot from there.
Oh yeah, I can do that. You're right.
Yep. So there is no manual that describes this process. So we have actually had to reconstruct this backwards. Basically, we have portraits of women with this hair, and then we just kind of had to figure out how it could possibly be made, how you could recreate that look through experimentation. And I think we finally come to a solution that we like. Yeah, this is it. So you create a secure ponytail. Oh, my hair's all shiny in this light. We create a secure ponytail. And then what we're going to do from there is we're going to divide that ponytail into 2 halves. And we're going to basically spiral whip stitch them onto my head in opposite directions, going around and around my head until there's all the hair has been caught up in this ribbon whip stitch. Oh, and if you're watching, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, everyone.
And this?
This object is called a bodkin. This one is made of bone.
Yep.
And it's basically like a giant needle, but without a sharp point. Well, at least we got rid of the sharp point. And in essence, you put the ribbon through this bodkin, and then that becomes the so-called needle with which you then whip stitch the hair onto the head using the ribbon. And this is both practical and decorative. I have actually had hair taping, a hair taped updo for 2 weeks, and it looked pretty good even at the end of the 2 weeks. So yeah, it's one of these durable hairstyles, and it's comfortable. There's no pins, there's no weight, there's no uncomfortable anything. So for people with really long hair, this would be a particularly good solution if you want to get your hair up off of your head and don't want to have a forest of bobby pins just kind of hanging out.
Let's see if we can get this to...
We've been to Japan. We like Japan also. Japan is a little more... Korea's redeveloped much more recently than Japan has, so a lot of things here are very shiny and very new, including the historical architecture, which they've rebuilt basically since the Korean War in its entirety, in its original medieval state. So Japan is a little more, a little less crisp, shall we say. Also, people smoke in a lot more places in Japan, including in restaurants, which is unfortunate. Less than they were in 2018, mind you, but that's
Still
problematic.
more than we want.
Yeah, still more than we want. Smoking is banned in restaurants and clubs here. So, and people generally smoke in the smoking corner of shame in Korea, which is great for us non-smokers who don't want to have to breathe other people's smoke.
Although since COVID, there's been more open smoking even here.
Yeah, well, that's true everywhere. Henry Yanto, you said country question mark. Do you mean country where we are or country where, because I think that's back when I was talking about the lavatories in the Middle Ages. Yeah. We do like Japan. The Japanese people were super friendly and welcoming everywhere we went. We've been around to quite a few places, actually. You know, the history is fascinating. The historical architecture is lovely. Food is good. I love raw fish. So actually, Korea also has its own sort of native raw fish. So, you know, Korea and Japan are very similar in terms of safety and architecture, public transit. Korea is less expensive than Japan is, though, by
a lot.
By a lot, I would say. Yep. If you're into travel, I have a travel channel, Travels with the Creative Contessa, and I've got a whole Japan playlist and a whole Korea playlist with lots of content, restaurants and sites and reviews and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, if you have questions at any point about what's happening, what we're doing exactly, just let us know. Oh, I wish that camera would stop trying to focus. We need to turn off autofocus, I think.
Maybe.
Because it keeps trying to, you know, when your arm gets closer, it tries to focus on that, so it just goes out of focus. So what he's done, it's not, you don't just put the hair up and go. You actually have to twist the hair so that it basically becomes like a rope bundle of hair.
Excuse me.
I don't know, maybe next time we should try the above camera.
Maybe.
And people can see from above. Might be better, I don't know.
How did I do that?
How did you do it?
I went the wrong way on this.
Oh, yeah, you reversed the direction.
Reverse the
What are
direction.
you doing?
I don't know.
Stop that.
I'm just messing up your hair now.
You can also, you know, you don't have to drag the bodkin back through my hair. You can unlace the needle. Yeah, if you have any questions as we go along. Oh, you're having that problem again of it shrinking in on itself.
Yep.
You know, there's a couple of times you got it absolutely perfectly where it stayed out and it looked great. And
Yep. I still have no idea what I did different then to get it to do that.
you know, maybe with the second one go on the outside of this one, I guess. Oh, really? No. Sorry, my cat just tried to claw my leg up because the ribbon was dangling and teasing her. Welcome to anyone who's just joined. If you have any questions, let me know in the live chat. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up, people.
Let us know if you can still hear her.
Yeah, let me know if you can still hear me.
What?
Something weird. It actually allowed me to go other places, which is strange.
What other places on my phone?
Yeah, that was weird. It just let me go. So normally this doesn't collapse in on itself this way, but something's happening today and it's turning into a tight little ring on the back of my head. Normally it should actually be a pretty broad ring, sort of framing the back of my head.
Yeah, I have no idea.
We're gonna have to practice this more often and see.
How long has it been since I've done one?
I don't know.
A long time.
That's why I said we're going to have to practice more often. So after this, we'll be heading down to the river called Shincheon. We're actually in Daegu, and we're going to be reconstructing a late medieval, early Renaissance dance, depending on how you count the eras. So you'll get to actually see the creative process of recreating a dance from an original manuscript.
Swap what?
Okay. Oh, I wasn't watching. I see. I'm not watching as me, am I?
No.
Right.
What you're watching is me. They get to watch me have a breakdown.
Don't have a breakdown. It's not worth it. Never have a breakdown.
Because this is not coming out well.
Well, it has been a while.
Oh, this looks like garbage.
It's okay. I'm going to wear a veil over it anyway. Yeah, my condottiero once got it absolutely perfect. We were in Florence, actually, staying in a 17th century palazzo, and it turned out exactly the way it should.
I was watched over by the ghost of a 17th century Italian.
You were watched by 15th century Italian?
15th century Italian.
Because in the 17th century, hair is a whole different ball game. So I'm also going to be doing a video shortly, a presentation probably on interpreting medieval and Renaissance art for fashion. And we're going to be talking about hairstyles in particular, because there's a lot of interesting art. For example, this tapestry behind me that depicts very fantastical hairstyles that were never actually worn by real women. And the artists didn't intend to depict the way real women in their era dressed. They were looking to depict goddesses and nymphs and allegorical ladies. So we're going to be talking about things like that. In general, the hairstyles that women actually wore were not as fancy as the fantastical ladies that you see in art depicting goddesses or biblical characters. lot of Botticelli's ladies, not the portraits, but his not portraits, are either, you know, depicting goddesses or the Virgin Mary or idealized beauty, and so you can't really use those to, if you're trying to recreate an authentic 15th century look, you can't use that as a way to do your own hair, unless you're going to a 15th century costume party, of course.
Yeah.
Well, it's
on.
on. It's on. I guess we can say that. Okay. Well. Last piece. Welcome to those joining. I am almost dressed. I just actually need a veil because ladies are not supposed to go outside with their hair uncovered in many parts of Europe. Oh, and I need to wet my hair and squish to create the right amount of curl. Could you grab me a bowl of water? So as I said, there are different ways to create curl and waves in the 15th century, or there are different ways to do it. In the 15th century, I think they had irons, but the kind of curling iron they had would definitely singe your hair. And I'm not willing to do that to my hair. And actually, I don't use modern curling irons either because they also singe your hair. So what I can get away with, thankfully, is wetting my hair and squishing it, because my hair is naturally wavy, and the wetter it gets, the more curly it gets. So I'm just going to wet my hair a little bit and do that to create the final look. And then we are actually going to be going outside down to the river. We'll be cutting off this live stream and starting a new one. And we will be working our way through a 15th century dance for anyone who wants to see what it's like to recreate a medieval dance from an original manuscript and original instructions written in a dead language. We'll be doing that shortly from this exact same channel.
Tatiana says hi.
Hello, Tatiana. Thank you for joining us today. For those of you who are watching and enjoying and haven't yet done so, please do hit that thumbs up. Okay. Oh, I see. We needed a little more.
Are you dead?
A little more fringe.
Yes, she's a ghost.
Yeah, I'm totally a ghost. You're hallucinating me. I'm haunting you from where I am. Okay, well, this is basically the complete look. And now you're going to get to, if you tune in a little bit, probably in about half an hour, then you'll get to see how this complete look dances. Okay, everyone, are there any final questions about getting dressed in the 15th century, in 15th century Florence? Keep in mind, this is specifically a Florentine look, right? Different city-states in Italy, different regions in Italy actually had significantly different fashions. And you can actually see that reflected in the household inventories where they talk about a roba in the French style or in the Milanese style or in the Neapolitan style. Right, so people did not dress the same everywhere, even in what is now modernly one country, let alone through the entire 15th century when fashions were changing with a fair degree of rapidity. Yeah, so, you know, I've actually, my dream is something I want to do, I'd maybe like to get to this year, maybe, is to actually do an outfit from roughly the 1470s to 1480s from each different cultural region. So Venice, Milan, Bologna, Naples, Rome, that kind of thing, so you can actually see the difference. Yeah. Okay, well, everyone, with that, I'm going to bid you all a farewell for now, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in the live stream that will be starting probably in roughly half an hour-ish. So make sure your notifications are turned on for all notifications, not just the notifications that YouTube thinks you want to see. Otherwise, until next time, guys, stay creative. Have a lovely evening at what?
You do know how to dance. You know how to dance.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know how to do, I dance a lot, and there's a lot of dance tutorials on this channel. So if you check out my channel, you will find there's lots of medieval and Renaissance dance tutorials. And I do dancing from medieval to modern, and I teach it all. So yes, I do. Okay, everyone, have a lovely afternoon, evening, morning. night, and I hope to see you all again. Well, I hope to see most of you again. Some of you, and you know who I'm talking about, you can go straight to hell. The rest of you, I hope to see you on the river, down by the riverside for dance reconstruction with the creative Contessa. See you soon, everyone. Bye.
You have 154 people on right now.
It's crazy.